Superman, released in 1978 and directed by Richard Donner. Production value of 55 million, domestic take of 134, international take of 166, for a worldwide total of 300 million. For a box office profit of 245 million, less all marketing and associated costs. Starring Christopher Reeves, Marlon Brando, Gene Hackman, Ned Beatty, and Margot Kidder. We've been doing a lot of housework lately, and now I have the sniffles from all the dust. This is an influential movie to me. This is one of the ones that really set the tone of my tastes in film. So this may not be easy. Characters. Okay, so I'm thinking this is around about a 50-50 split on characters I liked and characters I didn't really care for. Superman, Lois Lane, Mr. White, I really quite enjoyed them. Lex Luthor, Otis, and the girlfriend, not so much. We'll start with the obvious one, that being Christopher Reeves as Clark Kent / Superman. His portrayal of Clark as the likeable, bumbling bit of a goof, that was endearing. I quite enjoyed watching Clark stumble around the place, especially when you got in your head that you know it's just Superman pretending to be hopeless. And his portrayal of Superman made him likable, believable to a degree. More importantly, someone that you could kind of connect to. He was the invulnerable alien, the biggest storytelling challenge on screen, I believe. He really has no vulnerabilities apart from his humanity and his care factor for other people. That's his only weak. I mean, okay, yeah, kryptonite. Yeah, we know that, but that's a MacGuffin. That's a plot thing. We're talking about character stuff here. Lois Lane was pretty good. Margot Kidder did a good Rob as Lois Lane. The tenacious go-getter reporter, I like that. I also like the comic timing and the distracted vulnerability that Lois Lane had. The way she presented this character was good. When you think about all the other iterations of her, this is the nicest, sweetest, most sincere or gentle version of Lois Lane, if you wish. Ah. Okay, alright, Lex Luthor in this. Look, honestly, I liked his wit, I liked his style, I liked his savagery in the way he said things, and the way he kind of does some stuff. At the same time, he's a bit of a joke. He never really comes across as the actual criminal genius. He just seems to get lucky. He's more of a con artist and a shyster. I mean, I liked him the first time I saw him, I suppose. First few times I saw this movie. But having seen some of the other Lexes that came along, it's a bit weak. Otis is irritating at every level. I really don't like him. And the girlfriend, well, she's bland. Otis bugs me and she's bland. So I don't actually know which is worse. Well, the other characters are pretty much nondescript, late 70s background actors. They do their job, they do it well, they don't distract, they're not a problem. They've got their lines, they deliver them fine. I think I almost rhymed and I'm not happy about that. Score for characters. I don't know. Like I said, I'm conflicted here. There's a lot of nostalgia propping this film up for me. Look, I'm gonna give it a 3. But the villain sucked. Revise that to 2.75. Superman was great. Lois Lane was good. Everyone else was kind of average. Really. Story. Well, this is pretty much the origin of origin stories for the modern superhero movie. Being in many ways one of the first of its kind, you can't really fault it for erring on the side of caution and spending a lot of time on Superman's backstory. You get a lot of Krypton, then you get a lot of him growing up. I mean, a lot. Thing is, though, in a Superman story, the point is his origin story. That is the point. The point is where he came from, what he's capable of doing, and why he is the way he is. Without that grounding in Superman's origin, you just got an invulnerable clown that flies around doing good things and there's nothing to care about. There's no investment because he's untouchable. He's unstoppable. And even the great kryptonite threat is never actually a threat in any of the Superman stuff because they never really punish him with it. Apart from the red kryptonite in one of the later sequels, that gets trippy. I really like that concept. I don't think any other character, either in DC or Marvel, requires this much propping up for you to care. So while it is quite possible, if not accurate, to pick on how much time they sunk into Kal-El's journey from infant to adult, I think without that, the movie would just be the third act of this film, which is not as good as the first two. It's literally just Superman flying around doing the impossible, and whilst that's pretty good third act stuff, I suppose, the thing is we've already seen him do the impossible, the truly exciting impossible things happened in, oh, what, the beginning? The beginning of the second act? Where Superman flies up and saves Lois Lane from the helicopter crash. That is incredible. I got goosebumps the first time I saw it. And when I watched this last night, I got goosebumps again. The music swelling, this panning shot as he goes up, catching everyone's reaction, the crowd cheering, and again, the music playing into it, the whole cinematography of that moment is fantastic. I just gave myself goosebumps again. It is burnt into my brain. That is the pinnacle of that movie. That is the best bit of the film. And we reach it at around about the beginning of the second act. And to be honest, nothing else after that really matches. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is the best parts of this story is all focusing on the Clark Kent Superman thing. That's what the best parts of this story is. And I suppose leading up to the final part of the final act, where Lex Luthor sends out the challenge, Superman flies down and just walks through all of Lex's traps, confronts Lex, he watches the dialogue between the two of them. That does show some of Lex Luthor's cunning and manipulative mindset. That does show him off as pretty clever. The moment that kryptonite comes out and goes around his neck on a chain, the moment he's wearing the green amulet of death, the movie just goes, pfft. It just falls over, much like Superman does. However, unlike Superman, I think the story actually drowned in that pool and never came out. And when he failed to save Lois, which I actually liked because he was fallible, he can't literally be in two places at once, until he is, where he flies around the planet so fast that it slows down, stops turning and goes backwards, reversing time, then he respins it and comes back again. It's a really cool effect, actually. I still, as stupid as it is, I like that effect when you see all that. But in doing that, I think it actually killed the story for me absolutely dead. Not only is he invulnerable, but now he can change time. It sucks the threat out of the movie. That's whenever you start messing with time travel, you got to have the rules, otherwise everything breaks. Pretty much every movie that time travel is used to fix a problem, it generally kills the story. As good as Endgame was, and it was really good, they had to go to extra convoluted lengths to make time travel difficult, a problem, dangerous, a real challenge in itself, and then challenges within the challenge of time travel. They had to work hard to make it feel like it just wasn't the reset button and everything's better now. That is a major, major problem for me. Because after that happens, any other Superman movie that comes after that, you just go, well, just go back in time, bro. Do the world spinny spin, and you fix it all. You brought that into play, you can't ignore it now. It's not easy picking on something you like. Okay, so score for story, I'm gonna have to go and give it a 3.25. Yeah, I know, I complained a lot about the third act, and there are other elements in this movie that quite irritate me, yes. But the story for what it is, and the way that they make you care about an untouchable character, I think is remarkable. Plus, it gives me goosebumps every time I see that scene. So, you know, there's that. Okay, look and feel. I'm going to come right out and say, for the time that this film was made, it's pretty darn good. Okay? Looking at it now, hasn't aged well. We all know this. But it's a product of the time. That's all there is to it. You can't, I mean, you can pick on it. You can rip into it. But what are you doing? It's 1978. It cost $55 million. You look at what they've got and what they're trying to do. Okay, at least in Star Wars, you can go, but they're on a different planet. That's why that looks weird. You could get away with more in a sci-fi that isn't set on Earth because you don't know what these planets look like. We don't have a template in our head that we see every day. Whereas this, you know what you're looking at. You know how it should look, how it should move, how it should feel. Alright, so when you're watching Superman fly around, you know what it is. It's a dude hanging on a wire in front of a green screen. It looks it. It feels it. You can't escape it. So I'm not going to waste too much time going through look and feel in this, okay? Oh, the miniatures! Yes, okay, we could talk about that. I love all those. Campy as they are, silly as they are in some parts of the movie. I love it when they use miniatures in film. Mainly because I can imagine me, not necessarily me as a kid, I mean me now as an adult, playing with the miniature. Krypton is a prime example of some really good miniatures and set design. It looks completely fantasy, but quite believable. I mean, that could just be half a basketball painted white. You don't know, but it looks good, right? Also, the destruction of that place when it all goes up, that's a little intense. Even now, there's a lot of people dying and screaming and falling and explosions, and you're like, that is literally the end of a world. Other than the miniatures and that sort of thing, it's a late 70s film, and they did not have the technology to match the vision. That's what I see with this when I watch this movie. I'm sure when they wrote it and when they're directing it, what they could see in their brain must have been incredibly frustrating not to put onto film. Probably going to end up giving it a 2.5 for look and feel. I mean, it kind of hurts me to say that. It really does. But at the same time, there's some other things they've done in this movie that are just terrible. I feel very harsh giving this classic, iconic movie a 2.5 for look and feel. But at the same time, when you're watching it, you can't not see it. It's just right there. Script and dialogue. Right. Okay, yeah, this is one of those movies where when it's good, it's great. When it's bad, it's appalling. Oh boy. Clark Kent and Lois Lane stuff, Superman and Lois Lane stuff. You know, that's all good. Oh, it's so itchy. Most of the delivery of Lex Luthor's lines also really good, on point, cutting, a little nasty, a little savage. His delivery of those lines were really quite good. However, not all of those lines were worth the delivery they got. Poor Ned Beatty, having to play that idiot. That wasn't good at all. Every time he opened his mouth, he wanted to stuff something in it. And the girlfriend just almost managed to be worse, but luckily was duller. Just the way this did some of the things with particularly Lex, actually. Most of my problems are centered around Lex Luthor and his storyline. When they do the missile heist, which isn't really a heist, it's sort of a sneaky reprogram. The car wreck trick is old as they gets, and it works like a charm because apparently everyone in the United States Army is a moron. And the whole vigorous chest massage and CPR for the beautiful blonde laying in the middle of the road joke might have been funny in 1978. The iconic death of Pa Kent. That is a very, very key moment in the movie. It's where Kal-El discovers that no matter what he can do, he can't stop death. He can't stop time. Actually, yes, he can, can't he? Damn it. At that point in his life, he didn't know that he could turn back time. So therefore, that the death of his dad, his Earth dad, was an incredible emotional moment. Key to his character. The Lois Lane Superman interview, which is really quite clever. That was a nicely done scene. That's definitely a high point. And then the I'm flying in the air poetry sequence. It just irritates me. I don't know why they wanted to have poetry in the middle of the movie. Maybe it's just something that was a thing. I wish it wasn't a thing. I don't understand the thing. I don't like the thing. Other than that, most of the movie was passable. Most of the dialogue in the movie was a little ham and cheesy sometimes, a little corny, still worked, still played out as you'd want it to. It was good. It was pretty good. But a hero's only as good as the villain, and the villain in this was a bit of a joke. So we're back there again, unfortunately. So score. What am I going to do here? I'm going to have to give a script and dialogue a 2.75. Lex Luthor, Otis, and the girlfriend just drag it down. It's literally the kryptonite of this movie. And that's not cool. Your villain isn't meant to be the suckiest part, but it is. Here's the bit where fans of this movie are going to go, yeah, that's right. And people who wanted me to be harsh the whole time are going to be disappointed with me. Because for fun factor, this is a great little trip down memory lane. This reminds me of everything I love about superhero movies. I remember the first time I saw this movie, which was sitting between mum and dad on the couch. It still manages to give me goosebumps. The music sits in my brain. It's iconic. I watch this movie even with its faults, and I come out happy that I spent the time and keen to watch number 2. I'm going to be giving this one a 3.5 because with all its faults, I just have a good time with this one and it hits me right in the happy feels. So yeah, 3.5 and thanks for the journey. Okay, final score. Add them all up. You get yourself a 14.75. Nostalgia Brain is screaming at me and calling me a traitor right now, I must say. At the same time, the cold reality of watching a film like this means it is not going to hold up to everything else we get these days. And quite often, reality and nostalgia don't actually match up at all. So I think this one came out pretty good. Oh, and this was the Richard Donner cut. This is the extended Richard Donner edition. I recommend that over the original theatrical release. I really do. Watch both if you want. Be aware that that's a long time. This is a long movie. This is a very long movie for what it is. So my question for you is, when did you first see this movie? And what are your memories attached to it? Anyhow, there's my review for Superman. Thanks for joining me. Hope you've had a good time. Please like, share and subscribe. Feel free to comment down below or on the Facebook page. But most importantly, I hope you're having a great week and that you make some time to go and watch a movie.